You wonderful, wonderful Frickos. I love you, and you're amazing, and you're sick, and you're amazing. I put a stretch goal of 30 trades in 2 days and said we needed to get to 15 in a day, thinking that was pretty safe. And then the fact that we hit 12 by 3 o'clock made it pretty clear that it was going to be an emergency pot night. So appreciate Bill joining a little bit late here so we can fit this in. Had a work dinner that just finished up. So we're going to go through the 16 trades that have gone down since we ended the pod last night and tee ourselves up for what should be a pretty wacky and wild deadline. But Bill, thanks for joining. And what do you think? 16 trades, not bad, right?
Not bad, not bad at all. Lots of very random ones. So this is going to be like I think this is going to be like a different conversation for trades than it normally is because they're all just random and questionable in a lot of ways.
But see, look, I love them. I hate them. We're going to disagree on a bunch of these, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, 16 since the pod ended last night. The first one here is a super exciting punter swap. The Cardinals trying to get the Jacksonville punter so they get no points from them this week against the Seahawks and giving up the Texans punter in the process. Go fight, win.
Yeah.
Panthers getting Isaiah Simmons for free. At the time, I was very confused by this. I've since been pointed out to me that even though I love Isaiah Simmons, I took him, I think, 15th overall the year he came out. I think I've had him on my team 2, if not 3 times. Love the prospect. Apparently sucks now. So, hey, getting rid of the third-year option in that contract is not the worst idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's not exactly great. But I don't know. Nothing at all. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought he'd get a pick or something. I think maybe if he shopped a little more, he could have. But sometimes Eric makes a decision, and that's that.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yep.
That's what it is. That's your AFC East winner, ladies and gentlemen.
We shall see. Then we get the super fun party started here between me and Commanders. Khalif Raymond, Harrison Phillips, and Robert Spillane for Cameron Latou, Jawan Bentley, and Jelani Tavai. The Commanders giving up 3 one-year contracts for 2 linebackers and a 49er tight end who's been on IR all year. So from my perspective, I had 3 trade extensions, and I've used 2 of them on these players. Just kind of makes sense to diversify from, I think, 5 or 6 startable linebackers at the time to still pick one back up, but then grab a D end and another wide receiver I could use.
Yeah, no, I really like the Phillips pickup. He's having like a crazy good year as a D tackle that's playing under a D end designation, and yeah, just I really like that because you don't need the 2 Patriot linebackers. Spillane will be serviceable enough in their stead, and this was great depth pickup. And Raymond, as at minimum, he's special teams, so that's always good to have in the back pocket.
Yeah, and I mean they were manufacturing plays for him and touches for him in the game this week. So maybe that continues, maybe it doesn't. They did just go get Donovan Peoples-Jones, so some things could be changing, but it was a fun risk to take.
So, speaking of that, DPJ just feels like a Marvin Jones replacement. Like he's not going to do anything, just like Jones didn't do anything.
Again, we'll see. Like I said, if nothing else, it's the special teams, but potentially picking up a couple of gadget plays too wouldn't be a horrible thing.
Yeah.
You know what? With the Minnesota Vikings, if there's one thing we're all about, it's about making dreams come true. And for years, certain Bill has been asking and hoping to have his QB1 in that class to himself and to have him on his team and we made it happen.
I'm very excited about this. Like, I'm sad to lose Gino, but I mean, out of the two, I'd rather have Howell just like long term. But yeah, I'm pumped for Fields. I just need his thumb to get healthy and for him to roll me through the playoffs.
Hello there.
I agree with that.
Maybe.
He said it best.
Yes, he agrees. Liam agrees. Oh, buddy. So what's going on? What have we covered so far?
We're covering the Fields for Geno swap.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't hate it. I can't remember. You sent Geno plus, right, to get Fields?
No, I sent Gino for Fields and Bajent.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not a big Fields fan, but I think from a value point of view, that's pretty decent. I mean, Fields is going to put up big numbers, even if he doesn't end up being a long-term answer for the Bears or Bill in general. Geno will be around probably for a year or two still, but I don't think he's Seattle's long-term option, so I really don't think he'll be there.
He's too old to be the long-term answer, but he's serviceable,
Yeah.
and that contract is beautiful.
Exactly. I mean, he's a great fantasy asset for our league, but in terms of long-term Seattle or fantasy in general, I mean, I think Geno's more of a short-term, not even a rental, but just a short-term, like, solid starter, someone to put in your lineup and not cost you.
So you've been here for almost a full season at this point. You really think there's a high chance that Mike holds him for all 5 years?
Definitely not.
Right.
He's not
So-
even a
I would
high
put money on the odds of Mike moving him inside of a year.
He's already gone.
Oh, well then I would have won.
All right.
I love how you didn't even notice.
There's been so many transactions today, man.
All good.
Hard to
dude.
keep up between work and the boy.
Oh, boy. All right. So what's the next?
Next one, Percy Butler for 2/4, with Forrest injured and Minka likely hitting the IR. Needed another safety that could platoon. So for 2/4, the price was right.
Yeah, cheap pickup. I hope he pays off for you.
So that was the late night activity last night. Now let's get into the 11 trades that happened today. And
Starting off strong.
So Buccaneers trying to get that quarterback after Cousins went down, going Taylor Heineke, Nick Mullins, T. Higgins for Geno Smith, Mike Evans, Blake Cashman, and 2 2024 fifths. The Chargers and the Patriots.
I can't help but hate this because I was trying to negotiate T. Higgins for my quarterback. I just offered him straight up Baker for Higgins, basically, and he didn't go for it.
Do you see the severe overpay that Mike gave for T. Higgins?
I mean, overpay? Yeah, probably. It's a safe bet, though, right? You're getting almost 10 years younger, freaking wide receiver. You're getting $10 million cheaper, at least for the moment. And, I mean, yeah, is Heineke going to be the guy in the future? No, but are we going to discount Mike moving him in the next 12 hours for the guy who is going to be the guy for his next 8 months? I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah,
I don't
this was dirty. Like I love this for both sides, but I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked that Bucks got a fair deal. If even like someone overpaid to make a deal, he was the prime candidate to get taken in full advantage of in his dire situation.
Yeah.
He did not budge very much. The fact that he gave up T. Higgins, I think, is him budging. Even though Mike Evans is pretty solid himself, but that's an age difference. loss more than anything. But yeah, this is a better deal than I thought Bucks was going to get at all.
All right, so hold on a second. First off, let's not be facetious here. We knew good and well with Heineke on his team and with Goose being who Goose is and the Ritter owner, there was going to be a deal out there for him to get Ritter and to platoon the Falcons if need be. So in terms of him getting taken advantage of, even if he got taken advantage of, it would have been like an overpay on Ritter, so maybe too high of a second round pick. Again, not bad, but not crazy. Here, I think it was a fair deal, but at the same time, like it wasn't like, oh, dire straits, he's got nothing here. Like he was going to figure it out, even if he had to do it on the cheap.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, like, this is one of those deals. Like I said at the beginning of this one, it feels like it was an overpay to get Higgins, but Heineke is a starter right now. If that lasts, who knows? But for right now, he is the guy. But this is all about T. Higgins to me.
Yeah,
this is nothing else. This is all about getting T.
That's exactly it.
I mean, he's the best player in that trade for sure.
It's about me having T. Higgins and Amon-Ra St. Brown at a combined $5 million.
For this,
still interested in acquiring either of those guys. For the record,
I am not surprised by anyone saying that, but that's.
I'm gonna.
This isn't complicated. That's all there is to this.
Anyway, no, I like it for both sides. This is going to be a fun situation to watch in the divisional or championship round and see which side ends up winning.
All right. Actually, no, I misspoke earlier. So I think this trade got accepted last night, but for cap reasons didn't get processed till this morning. Landon Roberts from the Commanders for a 2025 third-round pick from the 49ers. Landon going to the Panthers. So Panthers is about to make a succession of trades here to kind of remake their team in their desired image. I'll just kind of cover all four at the same time because they combine pretty well. It's Landon Roberts for Panthers, the third from the Panthers, then swapping Javonte Williams for Trey Hendrickson with me. Panthers turning around and giving up Roy Robertson Harris for my 2024 fourth, and then taking that 2024 fourth and getting Ray McLeod for it. So basically giving up a 2025 third, Javonte Williams, and Roy Robertson Harris to get Landon Roberts, Trey Hendrickson, and Ray McLeod. He's just rebalancing his team the way he wants it to be. And Bengals gets rid of a special teams 49er receiver for a 24 fourth.
Yeah. Like, the only one that matters to me is Trey for Javonte.
Yeah.
Like, that is – I don't know if that says more about Trey's value being so ridiculously high or if Javonte just died. But we don't do offense for defense in this league very often. And this feels good. Like, generally speaking, if that makes sense.
I agree. Look, I agree. We don't usually do offense for defense. Williams is coming off an injury and a bit of a timeshare. Hendrickson is stupid cheap for the production he has. So,
what is he, like $600K?
$500K, yeah.
He's on like a 6-year deal for like under $1 million the rest of his career.
Yeah, no, that's really – I mean, there's a lot of value there. Like I said earlier, I think in the chat, the Vikings offer was really the only offer I've ever got that made me stop and pause for Laporta, and that was Musgraves and Hendrickson. It's like, man, the value is there. I just can't – I couldn't personally give up in my opinion, my most valuable piece of my team for someone even as good as Hendrickson. But I get it for Javonte. He hasn't really shown a whole lot this year kind of a risk on the Vikings part, I think, but I like it.
Well, so it's a risk reward situation, right? Like Javonte is coming off an injury, should be better next year, you would think. Trey is having a career year and will never repeat this, more likely than not. You're paying for now and for the future, but the future is nice because you don't have to pay a ton of money to have an underproducer. He's always going to outproduce his contract.
Yep. Anyways, and no, James, this is very good subliminal messaging from you, since I think you sent and revoked it to me over the weekend, had me thinking about it all weekend. Solid championship.
Yeah. No, I don't know. The whole won't repeat it. He's already had several 14-sack seasons. He's on pace for 16, so it's not really crazy to think he can't crazy to think he can repeat it. Obviously been on a good tear. And I like the rotation of guys they have behind him. I think he's going to be a good player there for a minute. And yeah, I obviously like Javonte. He was a part of the package deal on the first deal that I got that made me decide to actually break down the team last year. Didn't expect him to play really the first 4 or 6 weeks of the season. He played, obviously, looked solid. It looked really good this week, but it's just one of those things where it's like with the big knee injury he's had, with how bad Denver is, I don't know if he really gets a very lucrative second contract to where he's going to be a main starter or a guy with some high-end value. Whereas I feel Hendricks has probably still got a little bit longer shelf life at his value. So it's kind of just a one-for-one-ish deal. But I could easily see Mike walk away laughing. So we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of ways for this to go. But again, if nothing else, you've got the solid B+ piece. Javonte could be an A, he could be a B, he could be a C. But, you got to feel good about having Trey from stability there. Speaking of stability, Bengals given up a very productive Boye Mafe this year. Surprisingly such for him. Double digits every week. I think one of the top scoring DNs for Jaden Reed and Roy Robertson Harris. So I guess the Jefferson news or whatever of him being out potentially a little longer than expected spooked him a little bit to need to add another receiver and downgrade at the end. Harris is kind of a single digit, nice floor add. But he really lost his probably his fireball on defense.
I feel like I got caught up in a three-way and no one invited me.
You did. Yeah, you definitely did. You were the piece that made the juice stir, or whatever the fucking phrase. So I don't know, but
because I somehow ended up shipping the defense end in this, and I ended up shipping the fourth to Chris even after I got it from Saints. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I didn't even realize.
And I guess, yeah, I feel like I didn't know I was a part of it, but somehow I was a part of it.
I'm here for the gangbang.
Yeah. I guess I sat in the corner and fell asleep.
I might be on an island here. I think this is a gigantic overpay for Jaden Reed.
I get where you're coming from. I don't disagree. I'm pissed because I offered Tank Dell and Nolan Smith for Reed and Will McDonald and got turned down cold. And now the Saints move him for a defensive player straight across. Admittedly a good one. But I don't know. It does feel like he's probably getting more point value in Reed, but at the same time, can you point at any receiver on the Green Bay Packers and say that guy's the best receiver on the team?
Romeo Doubs.
Well, the issue really comes down to, is there a quarterback in Green Bay, just like is there a quarterback in Pittsburgh that can feed the ball to all these talented people to where it
Yeah.
matters how good the rest of the pieces are. Like, we all know George Pickens is good. We all know Deontay Johnson's good. We all know Pat Fryermuth is good. We all know Najee is good, but not as good as Jalen Warren. We got all that stuff. But at some point, if the quarterback doesn't produce enough, doesn't make enough of the plays on third down, it's going to hamper their fantasy value. And that's the issue in Green Bay. I love Jaden Reed,
I
personally.
didn't say I didn't like it.
But yeah, I just, it's one of those situations where it's like, it feels like a great situation to buy low on all those players, like anyone in Green Bay. Like, if you want to go Christian Watson and his hamstring injuries and go buy him somehow, or if you want to go buy Reed, or if you want to go buy Dobbs, if you think Dobbs is the best guy there, whoever's your pick of the candy box.
Sure.
It's just until there's a quarterback, no one's really going to be the week in, week out guy there. The only person I'd bet on is probably Aaron Jones. And even then, Jones hasn't looked good this year.
Yeah.
I like, in a weird way, I feel like this can open the door to the Browns taking the division easier than it was before he made the deal. I don't know. I might be higher on Mafe than a lot of people, but I don't not like Reed. I just don't see the reason that he did the deal at all.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'm thinking about here, and this may be me trying to galaxy brain this too much, but the Packers are 2-5. Like, they're not good. They've got youth at a bunch of skill positions. Watson's in a second year. Reed's a rookie. Musgrave's a rookie.
Doug's year two.
You can get out from your running backs after this year pretty cheaply. Love looks like he's a sunk cost. Why not just play the youth, finishing with a top 5 pick, and then there you go. You've got either a excellent offensive lineman, a quarterback of the future, or a legit number one to play on offense, and you've got really the makings of go sign Kirk Cousins in free agency, go get whoever the hell you want in free agency, stick him in at quarterback and watch him cook.
Yeah. This is a tricky team. They definitely came out today and was like, we're not sure about Jordan Love, which tells me they're either going to let him do another year and they're going to take Marvin Harrison, or they're going to just stick with their receivers and they're going to go with whatever quarterback comes available.
I mean,
I can already tell you what they're going to do. They're taking an offensive tackle, or they're taking a QB. Like, if they're in range to get the top QB or one of the top 2-3 guys, they're taking QB. Yeah. And if not, they're taking a tackle. Like, you can love Marvin Harrison all you want. Their offensive tackle situation's awful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think
so you have David Bakhtiari, who hasn't played more than 5 games in 3 years, and then outside of that, you've got turnstiles. Like, they don't have anything. Their offensive line's decimated.
Is he really
defense is young and paid? Like,
we literally said this about the Bengals 3 years ago.
And they still haven't fixed it.
A
lot of people said that, and there's a lot of people. Yeah, I get that. I was not entirely on board with them taking a tackle. I was here and there, but my big difference on that though is we watched what Jamar and Burrow could do together. Like, they actually had a connection. And if Jordan Love isn't your guy for the future anyway, why waste a pick on a receiver for a quarterback you're not potentially interested in having down the line, especially when the top 2 tackles in this class are ridiculously good?
Oh no, I mean that's the thought. Is if you can get a tackle or a quarterback there, that's what you're likely doing if you're Green Bay in real life. But if you miss out on those and you're left with the consolation prize of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, you have not
that's not the worst case scenario here.
Yeah. Again, I think if you're on the clock and you're Green Bay and you're getting a call from a wide receiver needy team and you only have to move back 2 or 3 spots, they're probably one of the best teams to trade up with, and the potential top 5, top 10.
Yeah. All right,
like, I could see them being one of the few teams that actually trades out of Marvin.
Again, that'll be fun to see what the hell happens when we get to draft season. moving on to the next Saints trade. Again, I thought I was making a lot of the trades today and making a lot of movement happen. And then Saints came in here and said, "Hold my beer." Saints trading the San Francisco 2025 first round pick and a Patriots third for Saquon Barkley. I guess Dolphins is starting to load up for a rebuild here, accepting the fact that likely not going to win the division, but doesn't seem ready to give up on Jalen Hurts yet, but still stockpiling draft capital. So, I mean, good on him. I forget what Saints had to give up to get the 49ers first. Was that?
It was
Purdy and Lance, right?
Yeah, he gave up Purdy and Lance got the first. He gave up a second to get Baker. Then he flipped Baker for Kirk, and then Kirk for Pickett.
Okay. So either way, now he's got.
Am I alone in thinking that a first and a third is cheap for Barkley?
No, I'm the exact opposite.
You think it's too much for Barkley?
Yeah.
I think it's dead on for Barkley.
I mean, looking at his stats, he scored 8, 26, 13, 18, 15, and is 26 years old.
He's also constantly broken and is never a guarantee to play. And yeah.
I mean,
but the other thing in this league, though, is how many RBs are there that are even good?
Oh, for sure.
Like Raheem Mostert is loved. Like didn't we just watch Raheem go for a first essentially? Like Raheem Mostert of all people, and how broken he's been and how long his career's been. So if you can tell me I can tack a third and get Saquon instead, I'm very happy, man.
Because imagine for a moment if the Giants literally ever got a functioning offense. Barkley would go from being constantly broken, borderline RB1 to between him and McCaffrey is the best running backs in the NFL.
Weirdly,
you'd assume he's gone this year.
Last year.
Yeah.
Well, he carried to the functioning offense last year, honestly.
Right. I mean,
like, if you watched a lot of Giants last year, it was like they did okay. Jones got him a couple decent drives, led to a field goal, this, that, or the other. But all their really big game-changing plays were all Saquon. It was like a 60-yard run or pass where he makes 3 people miss on like a 3rd and 18 and somehow picks it up to keep the drive alive.
But, I mean, that's
he's a phenomenal player.
270 fantasy points last year, and that was a mediocre offense.
I don't know, dude. Their quarterback threw for 15 passing touchdowns. Better watch out.
Right. I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, for what has been asked for running backs, like when I've been shopping, a first and a third for Barkley feels cheap, even at a $17 million contract.
Well, look at Devon Achane. Like, we've watched Giants give up a first and a second for a guy who didn't have an NFL snap. Like, obviously it's panned out, but you had to give up a first and a second for someone who hasn't taken a snap in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just running back.
Isn't the hype one coming out?
Running back's probably the most premium position in the NFL. I mean, you can't find fantasy running backs for a reasonable price.
So my view on this is the reason I think it's dead on. I agree with a lot of the comments about, it could end up being very cheap when you compare what Barkley's going for versus what Mostert's going for, what Achane's going for, folks like that. The $16 million matters. Where the 49ers are going to finish matters too. They have basically exhausted their draft pick cash for 2025 at this point. So they're going to go into next year with a very expensive Brock Purdy, some form, unless they move it, of Joe Mixon, and then Nico Collins and kind of a bunch of misfits at receiver. So they're going to be in a situation where that pick could probably at worst be like 18th overall. So 18th overall for a running back who, we'll see what happens next year. I expect he's going to sign someplace or sign with the Giants or whatever, and it's going to be fine. But, this offseason is a scary one.
He probably gets tagged again, unless his contract prohibits it. I'm not sure.
Well, the big thing to me, though, is still, like, when it comes to getting RBs in this league, like drafting them here and there. Like, if you drafted Gibbs this year, you were very happy. If you drafted Bijan, you were very happy. But that's top 5.
Yeah.
Like, outside of the top 5 guys, you had all kinds of people spending draft capital that was fairly high and not getting much in return. Whereas you could just go trade and get a Saquon. It just feels like the value in trading for running backs is far greater than spending any kind of capital to draft one.
Yeah, it also just means you also have to have another 17 million sitting around versus a 2 or 3 that somebody who drafted A-Chain or those guys paid. So again, it's not a huge deal. There's ways to get to cap space in this league, but it is something that can't be completely discounted.
Let me ask you one thing, Mike, before we move on from this. If you were just told, hey, I have a running back, he scored 270 fantasy points this year, he's 26 and cost $17 million, what would your opinion of his value be? No names, no teams, just that information.
I mean, I get the thing you're trying to set up here as a question, but it's kind of a fool's errand. No one's actually going to evaluate a player that way in that form of an analysis. It's going to be all sorts of context in terms of how they make the decision. So
sure,
I see the device you're trying to use, but it's kind of asinine, so I'm not going to answer the question.
I just feel like at the end of the day, when you evaluate a running back like that's value, if you're paying for a contract that's that much for a guy who scores that much, you are paying for, he did this last year, I'm betting on him doing it again. Kind of thing.
That's everybody.
All right, let's get on to something really exciting, like a kicker swap. Jets getting the Jets kicker, and the Saints getting the Denver Bronco kicker, and a 5th-round pick in 2024 from Green Bay. So
monster trade.
That's all we ask of these people is to include picks. That's all we ask.
I'm a little excited about that one because my kicker and punter are on bye, and I play the Saints this week, and he traded into a bye week. So I'm like, thank you. We're tied there. We're both getting a 0, especially after he adds all this. I'm like, great. I have my quarterbacks on bye, my kicker and punter on bye.
He didn't even
don't make me lose to the Saints.
All right. Then we've got a punter swap for Duke Riley.
I like that it's a player and not a pick. I like that it's different.
Yeah, I feel like I had Duke at some point. He just didn't pan out where he was.
Well, he is a Miami linebacker.
Yeah, Miami's linebacker
definitely raises the chance.
Yeah, Miami's. Yeah, you owned all of them, didn't you?
At some point or another, yeah. Had to catch them all.
Yeah,
except Tyndall.
Jalen Phillips was like the only guy I didn't get.
No, I had Jalen Phillips at some point.
Oh,
no, he had everyone but Tyndall. Yeah, I have Tyndall, but it's okay. Tyndall doesn't do anything.
I'm still working on fucking Chris to get Jalen Phillips, man. He's so stubborn.
Well, there's still about a little less than 24 hours in the trade deadline. It could be done.
It could be done.
Plenty of time.
All right, Buccaneers continuing on moving Blake Cashman, who we got from me for Jake Bobo, A'Shaun Robinson, and a 2024 third of mine. I
think that the Chargers wins this one.
Does he though? Because Blake Cashman's on a 1-year deal, so he'll be a backup next year somewhere.
So here's my logic, right? They're all 1-year deals. Chargers doesn't need any of them. He doesn't care. He's gaining a third. He's getting the most valuable asset.
No, he's giving up a third. No, he's giving it up.
Oh my god, I read this wrong. Oh, Chargers.
Yeah. Chargers lost. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think the most valuable piece in the trade is the third. But
did he extend Cashman?
Jake Bobo.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
if it was any other team, I would be like, he's nothing. The Seahawks have this penchant of turning these weird fucking nobody receivers into fantasy studs. Bobo could be good, like next year. Tag him, whatever.
Yeah, but
you're not tagging him. No way.
No. I mean, okay, let's say
it's way too much to tag him.
He goes out and
the tag is like $30 million for a receiver.
How much?
Yeah,
I think $30 million next year.
It's Paris Campbell. Rory,
I'm gonna cut him. I will cut Paris Campbell before the fucking tag bullshit. Don't worry about it. I think the biggest problem is going to be Devontae Adams.
You mean Justin Jefferson?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Justin Jefferson. Yeah,
that's true. I feel vindicated on giving him shit for paying $40 million for Devontae Adams. Just saying, because he's ended up just as bad as Paris Campbell.
I Don't know.
Anyway,
I think everyone knew that was
last
coming.
one
Josh
of the day.
All right. Isaiah Hodgins and a Houston 2024 third round pick and the Saints 2025 second round pick for Devin White.
It feels so cheap for Devin White. See, like this to me is where what Dolphins got for Barkley is what he should have gotten for Devin White.
First, you think White's worth a first?
I think White's 24 years old and a top 10 linebacker at worst.
He's 25. He turns 26 for the end of the season. He's $16 million. And I don't even know if he's that high for linebackers. He's scored under 10 more times than he scored over 10 this year.
So he also
Yeah,
does
but Lavonte David's about to be out of there. And
Yeah.
True.
Well, he's also not on a contract. I don't think Tampa's going to pay him, to be
I don't
honest.
think so.
Right.
But the
I
thing
don't
is
think
if Tampa doesn't pay him, there's plenty of people who will. So
Yes. I don't think he wants to be in Tampa, and I don't think he's trying very hard this year.
Devin White
would
to me
think
is
that-
one of these guys who has all the talent in the world, but he always kind of plays a little less than up to his talent. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to
I
see
don't know. I feel like
where he
he-
goes in a different scheme.
I would agree that maybe it's a little low. I would say 2 seconds is probably the value for him based off the price tag too at linebacker. But with things changing this offseason, with edge getting introduced, linebacker becoming scarcer, him at that age could be very attractive in terms of what really the linebacker landscape is. So
He could also just
determined, but-
renegotiate him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would make him very juicy.
But there we are, 16 very fun trades. Appreciate everyone putting in the work so far, but we still got plenty of work to come here. So we're going to go ahead and sign off so we can get to the fun part. Thanks everyone for listening in, and we'll cover the last 24 hours of the trade deadline next week's pod. But until then, everyone, we got a little bit less than 24 hours to finish things up. So let's keep trading.